Well, good morning, everybody. It's not usually my type of thing talking to a lot of people at the same time, so this is kind of a first for me. So I hope this goes well. I just want to start off with reading a passage in the Bible, and it's something I read as my reading yesterday morning. I'm sure some of you guys have heard this. Is Colossians 3, verses 1 through 17. And I just want to read this first. And it goes, this is the NLT version. If you have been raised to a new life with Christ, set your thoughts on the realities of heaven, where Christ sits in a place of honor at God's right hand. Think about the things of heaven, not the things of earth. For you died to this life, and your real life is hidden with Christ in God. And when Christ, who is your life, is revealed to the whole world, you will share in all his glory. So put to death the sinful earthly lurking within you. Have nothing to do with sexual immorality, impurity, lust, and evil desires. Don't be greedy, for a greedy person is an idolater, worshipping the things of this world. Because of these sins, the anger of God is coming. You used to do these things when your life was still part of this world. But now is the time to get rid of anger, rage, malicious behavior, slander, and dirty language. Don't lie to each other, for you have stripped off your old sinful nature and all its wicked deeds. Put on a new nature and be renewed as you learn to know your Creator and become like Him. In this new life, it doesn't matter if you are Jew or Gentile, circumcised or uncircumcised, barbaric, uncivilized, slave or free. Christ is all that matters, and He lives in all of us. Since God chose you to be the holy people He loves, you must clothe yourselves with tender-hearted mercy, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Make allowance for each other's faults, and forgive anyone who offends you. Remember the Lord forgave you, so you must forgive others. Above all, clothe yourselves with love, which binds us all together in perfect harmony. And let the peace that comes from Christ rule in your hearts. For as a member of one body, you are called to live in peace and always be thankful. Let this message about Christ and all its richness fill your lives. Teach and counsel each other with all the wisdom He gives. Sing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs to God with a thankful heart. And whatever you do or say, do it as a representative of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks through Him to God the Father. I just wanted to share that with you guys. I'm sure it may have been shared before, but that just really spoke to me, and I'm just going to share my life story here this morning. My life, I was kind of first introduced to pornography back as probably grade, as probably about age 11, 12, so whatever grade that is. It went over to Max, our neighbor's house. He pulled out some magazines, and that's kind of my first introduction to it all. And from there, it it never I never really pushed to go and see it, look at it, or whatever. And then every now and again, we'd go over there and hang out, and he would say, "Hey, how about we look at this?" And say, "Sure, why not?" Like that's I guess is what people do. I didn't really know any different. Um, so I guess from there, it didn't really progress too much through my elementary years. And then once I got to high school, so my school it was grades up to grade 7 was elementary, and then when you got to high school, it was grade 8 to 12, and then all through the beginning years of high school, never really it was on and off with the PMO, I guess if you want to like this PMO cycle, and that was kind of through grade 8, 9, and 10. I never really had any. We had a really slow internet, um, so I never really had access to anything. When I did, it was far and few in between, and it was always kind of interested me and kind of always in the back of my head. Also, growing up, I never really had a good life. Like it was, if you want to put it that way, it was. Yeah, I would never. I lived in a good home, raised in a Christian with a Christian background. Um, we did a lot of things with family. We had a good relationship with parents. Um, as siblings, we grew up, we were really close to each other. So it's not like I was ever pushed into something I didn't want to do or abused or something like that. It was always like, it was very, very easy childhood, if you want to put it that way. Like I was very blessed when we grew up. Like always had, um, we're always able to go on holidays, had dirt bikes, doing buggies. So like, it was just something that was more my own desire and a grip that I guess Satan got a hold on me too, that he pulled me into. Um, so yeah, I pursued it kind of more, a bit more into high school. Um, Never had yeah, the phones were not very good either. And so the first real, I guess, getting going with pornography is when I was probably driving, and you're able to like stop by a store and pick up a magazine or something and stuff like that, and went that went that route. Was always nervous using like a computer at home um, for being caught or something like that. Um, Grabbing the magazines for me was quite easy as I worked a night shift job when I was driving around. So usually gas stations and stuff were open like 24 hours. So yeah, that was my more my access into getting pornography. Um, just kind of just it was not it was kind of on and off, I guess, in a sense. There'd be times where I grab one and then it could go a few weeks to a month sometimes without any. Um, and then it would, as I kind of progressed through high school. Well, that's just after high school now, I guess. Um, it high school. Yeah, I was married at 21. I guess I should have wrote notes down. It would have been easier. Um, so after high school was not that. I was only in high school till about grade 10, and then I went to a place called CTC. So that was my grade 10, 11, and 12. So first year of college. Kind of in 3 years. It was kind of a cool school that way. I actually enjoyed school for once. School never was really a big strong suit of mine, so I really didn't care about it either. Even then, CTC was more, I guess, more of a male presence, if you want to put it that way. So there's definitely not a lot of the girls running around. So to be distracted by that, it was not really there. To be focused a lot more on school and stuff. It wasn't until like after school where um, like you're hanging out more and hanging out with certain people and going down to parties at the river where I kind of got more involved. But even then, with the uh, porn addiction, I guess, and sexual addiction, you never really built a proper relationship either. Um, so I always had different expectations. So that was never nice either. And that kind of drove me a little bit more into looking at things or watching something too. By this time, it was didn't really care more about what I was looking at on the internet really, because I guess I've gotten away with it for so long, for so little periods, parts of time, but able to get away with it and figure out how to use the computer a bit more and cover my tracks a bit better, I guess, if you want to say, have that secret. So that was not good, but anyways, moving on. I got married about 21, so shortly after school. My wife is actually from the high school that I went to. So we got married about 21, and then before then, so I took my addiction into our marriage. Never disclosed it to anybody really. Over the years, my parents have figured it out too. Like you, back when I had magazines, um, they found one night, and they're open about it. They just said, hey, like you should be doing this. It's not fair. It's not right. If you have any questions, like kind of come talk to them. Like they were open about it, but it was up to me to bring it to them as well. I was never, but after that, I never really brought it to them because yeah, it was my pride got in the way too back then, and it was hard to bring something up to them. Even though we had a good relationship, I just didn't want. I think it's more of letting them down that I didn't want to do that either. Um, so back to getting married. Um, I still had the addiction. When I was first married for the first year of our life, yeah, it was really there. I didn't have any desire to look at anything. It was yeah, we had a good marriage. Still do. Um, there's rough patches for sure. We'll get to that. But we had my first daughter really early on in our marriage. It was either I wanted like to have try and have kids early on, or wait for a few years and then be able to travel around the world or something like that first, and then have kids. But we decided to have kids younger. It was yeah, it's great. I love it. But then after the firstborn, Michaela, that's when yeah, a child comes into your marriage and puts different strains on your marriage and stuff like that, which is good. It's something you have to work through, but I dealt with it the wrong way. A lot of it, I turned back to my addiction and kind of fell back into that. Um, in our first house, so shortly after Michaela, I fell into my addiction, and then one night I felt obligated to tell Amber about it, so I did. By then, she put a password on the computer, and the only way I could access the computer was with her password, and so I built her trust back up again, and was able to find the password out and stuff like that, and then that just led to a downhill battle. So it kind of went downhill, fell back into my addiction again. But this time I had too much pride on my head. I didn't want to tell her either. It's obviously big in secret again. Still didn't reach out to anybody else, didn't tell anybody. We kind of just left it to ourselves. She knew about it a little bit, but to a point where she thought it was all gone. So for many years, I held that secret from her. So we moved from there. We moved to a different place, and we had our second child. And this time, like our marriage did like get better, so it kind of helped me get out of that my addiction there for a bit. Not fully, but it's definitely a lot less. And then we had Abby, our second, and then yeah, our marriage kind of changed again, obviously, and then that drove me back down into my addiction. And from then on out, always had the addiction a little bit at the back. It was never really went out to um, seek, if you want to say, other companies, if you want to put it, to see for different girls and stuff like that. I never had that desire to go do that. I did end up going to like when before we were married. I went to the strip clubs and stuff, but never did that when we were married. Never could have the heart to do that. But yeah, I had the heart to sit there at night and do my own thing in privacy, thinking that was different, which it was not. Just very thankful that I was able to, yeah, sorry, keep keep that out of my life, I guess, in a sense. So, anyways, yeah, it's hard. um, so like through after Abby was born, I kind of had, yeah, we had my addiction or whatever, and kept going back to it a little bit here and there. And then I got the opportunity with the job I was working at to be sent to Kamloops to go and do my heavy duty mechanics again. So that was 6 weeks at a time, 4 years. So the first year I went up to Kamloops. It was, yeah, you're away, you're alone, and that was really a big trigger for me. So every time I went away to school, I had to go for 6 weeks. I was only home on the weekend. Then I was gone all week long up in Kamloops on my own. And that was not good. That really brought the addiction out. And I really hit hard with that. And then you come home and you leave it alone for a while. But it was always in the back of my mind a lot more. So you kind of I took advantage of the opportunities I could. And then for the 4-year period, when I did leave again, it would go downhill and then kind of back up and then down. It was yeah, not very good at all. Bad time, and probably my lowest point in my life, I would say. It was good to be in school and glad to have very fortunate to have my schooling, but just my alone time was not good at all. So once I was done school, came back home. It was probably shortly after school. It was probably a few years after school. We ever had noticed I was spending more time on my phone and stuff like that. I came to a point where my body was home, but I was not home. I would be on my phone. I would be doing other things, not there for the kids, not there for Amber. It was still her doing pretty much everything around the house. I would do my own things, like go and either just work in the garage on my Jeep or try and focus on what I was going to do on the weekend. Or it was never for their benefit, never for their sake. Didn't really spend. We still did our camping trips and stuff like that. And I would put my a lot of time in what I thought was good, which was actually absolutely terrible. Like I thought I really needed to focus more on spending time with them and thinking about them, and which I never did. It was just yeah, I was there, and when they needed something, I'd help it. If they needed something fixed, I'd fix it. But I would always just fix things, like never really work on things, never really. But that I guess that's kind of my mentality growing up. Everything can be fixed. Everything can be fixed, and then you move on. It's done, it's finished with things, and you go on to the next thing. So that was my mentality, kind of growing up too, with even the kids. They need something quickly hurry them up and get them going. Amber went out for the evening. It was like, okay, yeah, like so. Like I gotta have it like on a routine. Like you guys need to be in bed by 7. By 7 they're sleeping. I got my own time. I can do what I want to do. Leave me alone. Don't come out of your rooms. Like it was not good. So then later on, after kind of all that, we moved in that house. I kind of kept my addiction, and then we moved to where we are now. And then I confessed to Amber one night, yeah, back into my addiction and stuff. And then she was like, well, for how long have you had it? And I told her, like, for years it's been going on. So she was very broken by that. So at this time, we had put nothing on the computers and stuff, but we put the studio on my phone to watch. And she was like the sole person that was watching it too. Like, once again, we just put things on ourselves. We never reached out. I didn't even know a group like this existed. I never knew there's people to even help. I never talked about it. I was always in big secret. Never thought I was all on my own, kind of thing too, right? So we had studio on my phone, and then once I got comfortable with that, I could find out that you could see certain things on YouTube, and so I started watching certain little videos on YouTube of this and that, and so then one night, her phone informed her that I was on YouTube a lot more, and then she clicked on some of the videos and found out kind of what I was already going through, what I was looking at and stuff like that, and that totally broke her down. So this is probably a year after we had studio on my phone, and that's when that was August 22nd last year, when we were at a friend's place. She already knew about the things, and I could tell by this time I was kind of spending a little bit more time with the kids and with her, and I could tell, like, starting to read her a bit more. I could tell something was off. Of course, me being who I was, didn't really think nothing of it. Thought it was fine because it was certain things like this and that, and not actually looking at this. So in my mind, it was all right, but in her mind, it was not at all. And I can see her point of view now. But that's the night she did walk out. And that was really, really hard. She she didn't want she came home that night, but she ended up kicking me out of the house into our travel trailer, and I had to sleep in there for a while. But it was not easy. It was very hard, very lost. Didn't know where to go. I didn't even know who to talk to. She was able to go to her friend's place and talk to people, and I never invited anybody into my circle of life, I guess, if you want to put it that way. And even though I had close friends, I still felt distant. I felt distant from everybody. That was very hard. I would, for those who are just starting out with their journey and maybe in that situation or are still fighting with it, I can feel your pain there. It sucks. So that once we were able to reach out, and fortunately I was able to get in touch with Brian and the group here, and that was my first ever contact with anybody kind of dealing with this. And then when he told me there's a group of men out there that's willing to help, that's when I joined this group, and it's been a great group. So that's kind of like and here we are today. So as through this group, and as me and Amber struggled through recovery, as I went through my recovery program, it's been quite the journey. It's been a really good journey. It's been helpful, and we are very fortunate to be where we are now. We have a good marriage. We're way stronger in our lives. I think like this is probably the closest we've ever been in our marriage. I think in all the years we've been married, maybe except for the first maybe 2-3 months, even dating. We talked about everything. We came to a point where a night where we wouldn't even talk to each other. It was more just kind of how's your day going kind of thing. And okay, the kids are sleeping out, time to watch children a show and don't say much and go to bed kind of thing. To now we'll play games, or we'll play like an escape room on our phone, or we'll have we don't get much TV in at night anymore, and it's really nice. That's it. It's spending that quality time, even with the kids. We'll come home and I can play outside for hours with the kids and just run around the yard, and you still do your chores and stuff like that, but it's still fun. You create that bond, and for so many years I was not there for them. They didn't have a dad. Me and my daughters didn't have a relationship. If they ever needed something, no matter where their mom was, if I was right beside them, they would always go to their mom. It was never asked that. It never was there. To a point now, it's like they ask me for things. They ask me for help. They ask me for. It's not like dad just fixes things anymore. No, dad will actually play. And so that's yes. This for years, yeah, it was never like that. Even on camping trips, wherever we went, it was just me snapping at them, or me pushing them away. Even Amber, it was just I always just worked by my own agenda, and now I try and don't even keep my own agenda. It's more on them. And if I want to plan something, I talk it over with Amber. I talk it like people ask me, oh, hey, you want to do this real quick? I said, no, I got to check out with the wife first. I got to talk with her and make sure that she doesn't have nothing planned. So it's changed. She's seen it change too, and sometimes she wonders even what happened to the guy that she married. I guess that's a good thing. Well, it is not guess. It is a good thing. We need to change, and it's not easy work. It's hard work, and I guess that's just another thing I needed to fix as well. So it's not fixed yet, not even close. There's still a lot of work ahead. We need to, I need to still buckle down. I need to be reminded of that as well. Yeah, that's my life. That's all I pretty much have to say.